the Woodpreneur podcast, where sawmill owners and lumber entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Every week, real stories from the timber industry, whether you're starting small or running a big operation. Subscribe for real stories and insights from the industry. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Alger, and today I have with me Clay Miller of Aurora Timberland. Clay, welcome to the show.
Hey Jennifer, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, of course. So Clay, you lead sales and purchasing for Aurora Timberland, but I believe you've been in the industry a lot longer than that. Tell me what you did before you joined Aurora Timberland.
Yeah, so I was part of a multi-generational family business just north of Buffalo, New York, called R.A. Miller Hardwood, and I'm fifth generation of my family in the lumber business, and kind of started from the ground up, working in the mill in high school, stacking wood, stacking lumber, working machines, and eventually. After about I was 25, my father and my uncle gave me a shot at sales, and I was really horrible at it for about the first 8 months, I think. But since then, yeah, I've been in the industry, and it'll be actually 20 years. 20 years this year, so kind of a long, rich family history.
So what did you do to get good at it? So you spent 8 months, you're like, this isn't working. What changed? What made you be successful to become the lead sales for
Yeah.
a company like Aurora?
It's interesting. I very much by mistake stumbled upon an old Gmail account that I had when I first was in the business. And I read some of those emails that I sent to customers when I started, and I can't I can't believe I'm still in the industry. I mean, it was so bad, and they were like, 7 pages, just like the absolute opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Wow. You gave it all to them, huh?
Oh, I think I had like a visceral reaction that I had to X out of this Gmail folder, never to look at it again. It was just absolutely atrocious. Um, I think two things. One is, I think this industry, there's so much to know, right? Whether it's softwoods or hardwoods. I think it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of no's, and it takes a lot of self-reflection, might be too big of a word. But I think what I learned is that I had to sell in a way that was me, right?
Mm.
I grew up seeing my dad, and I love my dad super close, but he has a different personality than me. And my uncles have a different personality than me. So once it was kind of being comfortable in your own skin, I think that made a big difference. And like I said, I mean, the first 6 months I was in sales, I didn't sell anything, and it was hard. And I think, but once you get the first sale, and once you kind of debrief yourself on what made this successful, then it's replicable as you go along. But like I said, those first 6 months, I was driving all through Ontario. There was no Google Maps. I was printing out MapQuest notes and trying to flip through them as I'm on rural roads. And there was a lot of times that I said, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But like I said, just I think, especially in this industry, it's just replication and being okay with hearing no.
Yeah, yeah. That's so true because, also multi-generational. And my dad's selling style works for him. He's quirky. He is different. He is unique and it works for him. But when we were, younger and as kids, he would try to make us duplicate what he did that worked, and it has to resonate with you. You have to believe in that process or it doesn't work. So very interesting. Did you do any
I think as I look back, subconsciously, I always knew I'd end up in the industry. So I actually went to school for history. I was a history teacher. Um,
Okay.
and I went back and got my master's in international business. But no, but I mean, but that on the job, that on the job training. I mean, whether it's always listening to my dad on the phone, even family Christmas parties. It's like the wives and everyone else are over here, and the men are talking about lumber. So
Mhm.
I was very fortunate just to kind of, through osmosis, kind of, learning about trees and learning about what makes our industry good and learning about the customer base, right? I mean, I think when I see or run into new salespeople. I think maybe that's the hardest part, is relating to the customers of wood products. And it's a very different subset of people. A lot of small business owners, a lot of multi-generational things. So it's really that ability to relate to your customers that I think
Mhm.
was the best
Yeah.
education.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to be said from that. Yeah. So family business, what caused you to leave your family business?
Yeah, we had a fire in 2010,
Mm.
which kind of, no pun intended, lit the fuse to close the business. But yeah, so we stayed open for a little bit, and then I went to work for another family business in the industry, and that didn't really work out for a lot of reasons. But again, it was another great and then I actually got into something totally outside the industry. I'm like, I'm going to try something new. Got into something totally outside the industry. And then one day I got a message on LinkedIn from a friend of mine, someone I had sold lumber to at R.A. Miller. And from time to time, I'd get these messages like, hey, can we chat? And usually it was, do you have so and so's number? Or did you hear that, you know, someone's retiring? And so I got that message. And 3 weeks later, I was back in the lumber business.
Okay. Okay. So that was the current position or current
Correct. Yes.
company or
Yep.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you transition over to Aurora Timberland. Okay. So what does Aurora Timberland do?
Yes, it's a great question. So Aurora Timberland is the hardwood lumber sales brand of a company named Alexandria Moulding. And Alexandria Moulding is one of the leading millwork producers and distributors in North America. So I spend some of my time, about 50% of my time, purchasing all the hardwood lumber for the Alexandria Moulding manufacturing sites. And then from there, we kind of have this large pile of inventory, and we distribute it. So we distribute
Mhm.
lift lots and full truckloads throughout Eastern Canada, New York State, and Pennsylvania. And then we do full container business to Vietnam.
So your wood, where's the wood sourced from? Are you sourcing it in log form? Are you sourcing it in lumber form? What does that process look like?
Yeah, great question, Jennifer. So we're kind of a true distributor. So we're buying it kill dried from sawmills and concentration yards, and we bring it in, and we kind of, stereotypical wholesaler slash distributor, bring in a truckload of 16,000 board feet and send 16 1,000 board foot units to 16 different people, and just kind of do that day in and day out.
All right. All right. So any remanufacturing that goes on in between?
No, we're pretty, we're pretty aware of stick to what you're good at.
Yep.
And so we don't really work with, a lot of companies are great at it. We just,
Mhm.
try to put our focus elsewhere. So we just, straight bring in the pack and ship it back out. Certainly Alexandria Molding does, a whole cadre of molding and manufacturing, whether it's hardwoods or MDF. But on our side of the business, Aurora Timberland, we're just a strict distributor.
Okay, okay. So you're buying direct from small producers in Pennsylvania, New York, and up into Canada, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we have about 10 core supply partners that we work with.
Oh,
And those 10 probably account for about 80% of our business, that, 80% of our purchasing. And it
okay.
runs the gamut from super small family owned business in Iowa all the way to like monolithic mega sawmill production company with, 20 different locations. So yeah, we kind of run the gamut, right?
Okay.
And again, for the amount of lumber we go through, we're super proud to kind of have a real small basket of suppliers that we can count on.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the smallest producer that you work with? What's their throughput? And what are you purchasing from them in a given order?
Yeah. I mean, we go through, and I think on a company wide basis, we go through from companies that are producing, you know, 3 million board feet a year on the smaller end, all the way up to companies that are probably producing 3 million board feet every 3 weeks.
Okay.
which is
Okay. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
kind of staggering, but
Yeah. That's a significant variance there.
it
You know,
is.
well, I'm glad you're able to support the smaller family-owned businesses with that with your purchases as well. I think that that definitely means a lot to them. And you had mentioned that you believe that our industry is crucial and very important to rural America. How so? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you and I think about this all the time, if you were to list all the people, right? So we send a pack of poplar to one of our customers and they cut the bands and they put it in our machines or their machines. So that's one person. But if you start tracing back every single person that has been involved in that single pack of lumber, or if you want to get even more minute, that single piece of lumber. I mean, there are so many people that are involved that it's almost impossible to trace. But the one thing that you can trace is that a large majority of the people that are touching this lumber, everything from the sawyer to the person in the woods to the truck driver to the person at the sawmill, it is rural America. And it's rural America in places that you really can't find unless you get lost. So, so like, and I mean really lost. Like there, you're just not driving down the throughway and say, oh, there's a big sawmill. Um,
Right.
and I think that's what makes the hardwood lumber industry story awesome and amazing and great to tell. But I also think it's in a lot of ways a hindrance to our industry because so much of this work is happening in small towns. I can't tell you the amount of trucks we dispatch where it says Rural Road 8 or County Highway 9.
Yeah.
I think with some of the challenges that the industry's having, mill contraction and wood substitute products, a lot of the effects on the economy aren't really seen because these producers and these sawyers and these loggers, they're kind of on the periphery of what people see every day, right? And so it's a challenge. And listen, the hardwood lumber industry is in challenging times right now, and I think part of telling the story of what makes wood great is also telling the story of the great people that make wood, right? And it's an easy
Yeah.
to tell.
It really is, and it's not these big, mega corporations that are just spreadsheets. Everybody's a number. These are families.
100%.
And, even the ones that are doing the higher end of that production, they're still families. They're still, in the grand scheme of things, quite small companies, many of them. And even if, even some of the larger ones, they're supporting families and it trickles down. And yeah, I don't think when we look at the economics and the landscape of what's going on in the timber world, I don't think we think all the way down to those smaller ones. I think a lot of times we're really thinking of the bigger corporations going out. And it is important. And I think that is a big selling point as we market, wood is good. Whether, I work a lot in urban wood, salvaged wood, and reclaimed wood, but even, because that would go to the waste stream. But even traditionally harvested wood, it is good. It is regenerative, it is environmentally friendly, and it supports so many families across America and into Canada,
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
half the world.
I'm proud American. I live about a mile and a half from the Canadian border, so I'm just as close to being a Canadian as you can with still having the American passport. But
Well, yeah.
yeah, but like I think you're so right, Jennifer. I mean, you think we have the people that are producing wood, right? But then you have the small town trucking firm that 90% of their business is hauling lumber. Then you have the machine shops, and then you have it trickles out in kind of this exponential way that again,
Yeah.
if you just sat down and kind of just thought about one piece of wood, how many people touch that? It's
Mhm.
staggering. And especially if you get like the multiples of truckers and food and just everything else, it's I'm thankful those people exist, but I'm also hopeful that we can get that message out so these people can continue to exist and do what they do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you'd mentioned that the hardwood industry is struggling right now. How long has that been struggling, and what do you think it's going to take to pull it out?
How much time do we have? No, well, I think it's been struggling for a while. I think there was a lot of things that masked maybe the struggles. One of them was certainly COVID, right? In terms of
Mm.
kind of this once in a lifetime
Well,
demand. 100%, 100%. And profitability was good. I mean, to give you an example, so in the height of COVID, the industry was annually produced 16 billion board feet of hardwood lumber a year. Appalachian and northern and southern hardwood, 16 billion feet. The annualized projection for this year is just below 4 billion board feet. So
unreal.
there's a lot of macro factors to that, for sure, but a lot of it's wood substitute products. And I think I've thought about this a lot recently. A lot of it is we have to make products that people want, right? And we being sawmills and the entire industries. There's a lot of things working against it, but the good news is that everyone's finally awoken to the fact that there needs to be promotion, there needs to be advocacy, there needs to be lobbying, and there's kind of this that people are finally starting to do it, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, and I've seen and even had many hosts on here who were joining forces with to come together and create campaigns that the wood is good, real American hardwood, those types of things to bring. That's not supporting just an individual company, but supporting the use of and wood solid wood products. And I think that is so important and educating the public. I mean, when I grew up out here and I was in a traditional logging family and and I'm growing up in California, my family wasn't, the school kids were taught to you're from a logger family. And they were taught to look down on that because we were hurting the environment. We were, why don't you use these wonderful plastics and concrete and all these synthetic products? And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I went, wait a second. None of that's true. The logging, timber, lumber industry are some of the most environmentally friendly, compassionate, caring people for the environment and for humankind, and finding that beautiful balance between the two. And that's when I realized, okay, this is ridiculous. We can do better. And so I think education is huge. What are your thoughts on education, educating the public, educating the next generation of the benefits of wood, and what do you think we can do about it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a hard problem to solve for sure. So I'm lucky enough to be on the board of the North American Forest Foundation. Kind of the mission statement or the goal of that is to basically win over the next generation of consumers, right? So we're super involved in education,
Mhm.
lesson plans that we send out to schools that teachers can teach their students about wood. It's super like ergonomic. There's like pencils that grow into trees and there's super cool rulers. And it's to your point, it's how do you change those stereotypes? Well,
Right.
it's kind of like, in my estimation, I'm just speaking for myself, it's kind of like smoking, right? It takes a while. And the people that already have perceived perceptions of if something's good or bad, those are generally really hard to change, right? But if we can change what children think, and when they grow up and when they start buying homes and furniture and everything else, that's where the opportunity is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so like it's something that I've become really, really passionate about, probably just over the past like 2 years, kind of just being like, there has to be some way we could all just kind of work together. And
Right.
what's super cool is that like teachers are really like stoked about this too. Like it's not like we have to like sell the teachers, the teachers understand. And the teachers in our last board meeting asked me, what are the age of these teachers that are really excited about these kits that we sent? And it's like, 20 to 35. So kind
I
of
love
it's
it.
giving me hope.
Okay.
It's giving me hope that we have a captive audience of teachers and a captive audience of students.
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. I love it, and I agree. Education is key. Teaching that,
Yes.
retraining, reteaching the false extremes. People aren't out, clear cutting all of our forests. They're taking care of the forests, and wood is good. So yeah,
Keep saying,
I agree.
keep saying. You guys got a lot of followers, a lot of listeners. Just keep saying.
We're working on it. We're working on it. So Clay, what's one of the biggest obstacles or challenges that you've ever experienced in your career? in the wood industry.
If you knew me better, my sense of humor would kick in and say every day. That would be the answer. But if you're just talking about our business, like just Aurora Timberland, right? The amount of space we cover, right? We have a sales agent in Vietnam that works at night because of the time difference. We have customers in New York State, and then we have customers in Prince Edward Island, and all these different time zones.
Mhm.
We're super passionate about. We're obsessed with customer service, right? How do we get quotes to people in 15 minutes? How do we explain to them with pictures or video what they're buying? How do we do all these things? So it's kind of like a throughput problem of how do we maximize our time that we can devote to customer service.
Okay.
And it all starts with really good suppliers. So like kind of getting back to what we talked about with our supply partners, like
Mhm.
if we have partners that are obsessed about customer service as we are and quality as we are, then we don't have to spend time sorting out problems with our suppliers. We can spend that time sometimes sorting out problems with our customers, right? I mean, we're not perfect, but it's just kind of this, how do we get our customers to understand the customer service prop we bring? And then understanding the customers that we're a small company with a lot of lumber, and we're working for you and you're important to us because, again, we're a small company.
Mhm.
That's our biggest challenge of just kind of taking one customer, the obsessiveness we have with treating that customer well, and then kind of shotgunning it out literally across the world. Sometimes I think, like, some days I close my computer at 5 or 6 and I think I'm spitting in the wind. And then sometimes I close my computer and I take a little victory circle before I work from home, before I walk back into the rest of the family. But as long as at the end of the day, I feel like we're winning, we're on target. We're on that trajectory that we want to be.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you had mentioned Vietnam. So how did that come about? How did you find a client in
Yeah.
Vietnam?
It's interesting. I mean, I said, I through a direct message on LinkedIn, I
Mhm.
came to Aurora Timberland, and through a direct message on Instagram, we kind of started in Vietnam. So like 2018, late 2018, I got a message on Instagram, and it just said in somewhat broken English, it said, "Do you ship to Vietnam?" And we had never shipped to Vietnam. Like, we didn't know how to. We didn't know the first thing about shipping to Vietnam. So I read the message, and I just kind of, how social media is. You get a lot of kind of spammy type things.
You're
So
like, this is probably nothing. I get a million of these a day.
yeah, and like I think I saw like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then like from 4 o'clock to like 8 o'clock at night, I had like my dad's like voice on my shoulder, being like, "Never say no to an opportunity. Always hear someone out." So I'm like, oh, so I respond to it, and I'm just like something super vague, like not yes, not no, but like we'd certainly be interested in it. And then there's like a day of silence, and then this kind of goes back
Sure.
and forth. And so we somehow got the first order, and I'll never forget this at like 9 o'clock at night. So the selling of the wood was the easy part. It was everything that came after: how to get the payment, how to do the customs paperwork, yada yada yada.
Mhm.
And our agent at the time, we did the Shantae, who's my sales assistant, who's like the brains of our operation. She did all the customs paperwork for the first time, and we're just like, I think we can put that. I think we can put that. And the email came back, and it said, "Thank you so much. There's just a few changes that need to be made." And I said, "Oh, that's probably not that bad." So I opened the PDF, and there's probably 50 little arrows in red and like comments, and like it was so bad. I'm like, and the stuff was already on the water, basically. It was already like sailing,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? So the next morning, I call a colleague of mine who I've known for a while, who I know does a lot of export. I'm like, hey, his name's Steve. I'd like, Steve. I'm like, can you help me? I said, we may have gotten in over our head, and I just need to make sure this one doesn't get seized by the government or something.
Right.
And so he had this woman, Diane, who helped us. But from there, it just it kind of grew, right? Like we did
Mhm.
one, and then we did three. And it's just, again, how do we find a different way to skin the cat? How do we approach customers? Are customers are customers. It doesn't matter what
Right.
corner of the world they're in. So moving forward to present day, we've developed a walnut, like a product that's super well received in Vietnam. We're sold out most months, and it literally just started from a 5-word DM on Instagram.
Okay. Okay. That's shows you the power of social media, right?
For sure. Now the only thing that stinks about that is now I have to answer everything on LinkedIn. You never know. So
Mhm.
every single weird inquiry or question I now answer because I never know if that's quite
I
literally the next $1 million idea.
Right. I've been there. We've gotten some messages and from another country, and
Yep.
once again broken English and just the way it was worded. I'm like, I don't know. And so I kind of sat on it for, yeah, for a day, you know. And then I'm like, should I look back at that? And then I got another message from them. What? Don't you want to sell to me? And I'm like, okay, maybe this is real. And now, I mean, that was, 5, 6 years ago. And we've got another container on the water right now heading to them. And so I'm like, okay, this I'm with you. You gotta check it out because it could be real.
Yeah, it is some of it like, with I don't think it was all just sheer luck. I mean,
Mhm.
our Instagram and our LinkedIn kind of presence, we try to, it's not the most fancy marketing. It's not, we don't have a huge marketing team to do all stuff, but we try to convey, whether implicitly or explicitly,
Mhm.
the things that we're really good at, but the things that we are passionate about. Right. So I think that, this gentleman who we did the original deal with, he ended up working for us as an agent for, I think, 4 years. And we talked about the fact that he had been following us for a year and a half on
Mhm.
Instagram. Right. And there was some product that was hard to get, and that was our chance. So it's just, I think, and in sales, and you just said it, you always have to be ready, and you have to be ready to say no, or you have to be ready for the customer to walk away and say your price is too high. But the one time it hits, it can change your business, and it can change your value prop. And I'm just
Yes.
thankful I answered that
Yes.
DM.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So are there any trends or issues in this industry that you're super passionate about, whether good or bad?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some good trends to come. I mean, even with the kind of a sluggish housing market, whether it's Canada or the US, there's one fact that North America has to start building more homes. It's not a matter of if, and it's not a matter of should they. It's just a matter of when.
Mhm.
This year, I think for everyone's been challenging, tariffs and kind of this macro environment of just chaos. But I think for everyone on the supply chain, I don't know, people said it'd be 2025, and now it's like it might be 2026. So I don't want to, kind of get into dates, but eventually there's going to be a lot more demand for solid hardwood lumber. And when that day comes,
Mhm.
I'm hopeful that the sawmilling industry has the capacity to make the products that people need. Because if not, people will gravitate towards other products.
Right. The capacity, the skill, the logistics, that whole supply chain ready to go. And that's one of the things we've kind of been harping on out here is be ready. Be ready. You know, don't wait for it to get here. Get your stuff, get your network in order now.
100%. 100, and this is a good time to make cold calls, and,
Mhm.
just kind of shoot for the stars with maybe like aspirational accounts that maybe you don't think you can sell. Because
Right.
I do think that in the hardwood lumber industry, you cannot go from 16 billion of something, 16 billion board feet, to 4 billion board feet and not have shortages. So the next cycle, the next time that we see this up, or this kind of hockey stick type trajectory, the companies that are, positioning themselves now and playing the long game, I
Mhm.
think are going to be the most set up. And the companies that are just kind of like transactionally just selling, spreadsheet buying, spreadsheet selling,
Mhm.
I think maybe they might not be as well positioned for kind of the next iteration of the market.
Right, right. So think big, shoot for the stars, make those cold calls and get yourself positioned now.
Yeah,
That
cold
would be your
calls
advice
terrible.
for people. Yeah, they are. They are. They're the
It's so
worst.
terrible. It was so we opened up this new distribution center to service our New York State and Pennsylvania customers, and I made a true cold call, like out of the car cold call in a long time. And this was 2 weeks ago. And I parked my car and I started walking to the gentleman's office. And I turned around and acted like I forgot something in my car because I had no idea what I was going to say. I'm like, maybe I can't.
Get back in your car, or did you go back in?
I was getting another set of notepads or something. And like, the guy's looking at me because it's right in front of his window. And like, he's looking at me like, and I'm like, oh, okay, I have the notepads. And so I went in and I felt like I was 23 again, but it was great. Like, but you have to do that. And I think as this market changes, you distributor, wholesalers, the ability to expand your footprint is going to be kind of the next big thing with distributors and wholesalers.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned cold calls. Tell me, and that was a funny story, by the way. Tell me about a time that a cold call really, really paid off.
Yeah.
And how long did it take?
Oh. Okay. So I used to kind of have this route throughout the greater Toronto area. And every Tuesday I'd go up and I would always I would always kind of try to see the same people, target accounts. And every time I went to this one account, there was a parking space and it said reserved for the owner and it had his name on it. And every time I'd go to the front desk, I'd say, is so and so here? And they say, oh, he's not here. And I'd always be kind of like, his car's there, like, so whatever. So this went on for a while, and I just kept showing up. I'm like, eventually this guy's gonna see me. I'm gonna catch him at the right time. And probably 2.5 years later, I go to walk in his office, and he's outside on his phone yelling at somebody.
Oh,
And I'm but I can tell very quickly he's yelling about quality of a load of lumber that he just received. And so I go in, the secretary's not there. I sit down and he opens the door. He's huffing and puffing a little bit. And he goes, who the heck are you? And I said, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm Clay Miller. And he goes, do you sell wood? And I go, as a matter of fact, yes. And have you not gotten any of my 200 calls? All the notes.
I'm here every month.
Yeah, I'm like, I even know what your license plate says because I always make sure your cards. But he said, I need this, I need this, I need this. If you can make it happen, just send it to me. And I said, oh, okay. Same thing as Vietnam. I'm like, yeah, we'll get right on that. Go outside, and now I have to put my words into actions. And that customer was a customer for 18 years, and the gentleman just retired. I don't know, a year ago, and we sold them ever since.
18 years from a cold call. So I got to ask, were you ever on the other end of that yelling phone call?
Yeah, I think yeah, all the time. Like we're not perfect, and
Yeah.
the things that our customers make are so dynamic in terms of different expectations and different needs. But that's the thing, right? Like, let's be obsessed about selling as we are. Customer service is easy to say at a restaurant until somebody complains about their steak, right? I mean, we take care of the customers. Well, let's see that in action. So we are, and I think I can be empathetic to that because I'm also buying the products, so I'm on both sides of the supply chain. But
Yeah.
customers don't want to hear excuses. I mean, if there's a problem and it's a big problem or even a small problem, they don't want to hear excuses. They're small business owners who that load of lumber or that pack of lumber could be the difference with their payroll that week, right?
It could. It really could.
They have to get that set of stairs out to the contractor or the GC so they can get paid and pay their people. So just being empathetic to how hard it is to make really nice things. If you're empathetic to that, my grandfather once said, there's nothing in the industry that can't be undone as long as you do it legally and ethically.
Right.
So
Right.
as long as you're being ethical and being legal, it's just wood. We can fix it. Like, we can
Yes.
figure something out.
And that's a great attitude. And I'm glad you didn't say, "Oh no, we were never the ones that delivered something that wasn't perfect." Because
No.
the reality is, mistakes happen. We're humans. It's how you stand up afterwards and own that and make it right. That's where customer service shines. The steak, the bad steak. How did you deal with it? Great analogy there. Yeah, yeah. So Clay, we have talked quite a little bit about social media. Your Vietnam client, big client for you, came from social media. So tell the listeners, how can they connect with you on social media?
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's at Aurora Timberland, and we have all kind of videos. It's cool if you buy wood. Also, it's super cool if you just want to know how wood is produced. Like we have a lot of different cool little features and things like that. And then on LinkedIn, it's Clayton Miller.
Clayton Miller. All right.
Best way to find us. And Alexandria Moulding is alexmo.com.
Great, great. All right, all right. Well, any parting words?
No, like I said before we went on, I've been following your channel for a long time. So it's kind of like a Joe Rogan moment. I made the podcast, which is great. But
Wow.
I will say, yeah, but I've always been intrigued. I've always been intrigued by kind of what you guys are doing because and I'm not saying this to pump your tires or because I'm on. It's because I think the kind of, whether it's marketing or whether it's engagement or whether it's figuring out the next steps, that's what the next cycle, the next 10, 20, 30-year cycle is going to be. It's probably not going to be massive companies like that are buying 100 truckloads a month. It's going to be all sorts of like super dynamic, super smart owner operators that are thinking outside the box. And as long as we kind of have those ideas, like a lot of times, like these entrepreneurs are pushing ideas up the supply chain, right? So as long as we have these new products and as long as we have people that are just super passionate about wood and
Mhm.
making great things with wood, I
Right.
think in the long run, at least the hardwood lumber industry, it'll all work out. But we got to amplify those people that are passionate, whether they're a super big company or whether they're a guy in Bakersfield, California, that has a chop saw and a rip saw and in a small little industrial park.
You know where Bakersfield is, on the streets of Bakersfield.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe I came up with Bakersfield. Like I don't know, like it was between Fresno or Bakersfield, so I picked Bakersfield. I
Yeah.
could have been as easily better.
Yeah. How funny. How funny. Yeah, that is so true. And I see a lot of small producers collaborating together to
Yes.
reach larger markets. I think that's definitely in our future. Um, and learning from each other and not working as much in silos. Wow. Well, I'm glad you were on today. I learned a lot
Thank you.
from you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for taking the time. I know we had some audio issues at first. We got
Sorry
those
about that.
resolved. No,
That was all with me. I'm sorry.
no worries. But yeah, thank you so much. And for
Yes,
those
ma'am.
of you listening who have not yet subscribed to the Woodpreneur podcast, go find us on YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much, Clay.
Thank you.